Hi, my name is Rose-Davidson from Rose-Davidson.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, albeit a little bit late. But yes, we're going to be learning about the 4 key reasons why business owners must have a podcast. Now, I know a lot of you probably have been thinking about a podcast, but you're not sure about, where to start. Is it going to be good for your business? Is it going to make you any money? And, will I hit my audience? And, those are all questions that I'm going to be able to answer for you today. So please leave any comments in the chat. I can't see the chat at the moment, but I will circle back round and I will come and answer them afterwards. So I guess you could be asking, and I've heard this so many times, why do I need a podcast? And my answer is quite simple. Why not? You have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain. So, and who doesn't want some more income and, a wider audience to hear your message? Doesn't matter if you're a service provider, a coach, a consultant, a business owner, and even if you sell a product, podcasts are a great way to reach your audience. So as I said, my name is Rose-Davidson. I'm from Rose-Davidson.com. I am a podcaster, host and a podcast producer, as well as an online event manager. So I don't need to tell you that it's been challenging to be in business since early 2020. A lot of businesses were forced to close their doors permanently or for extended periods of time. And many business owners, didn't transform their businesses so that they could remain sustainable. And this resulted in a huge blow to their financial resources and to their general health and well-being overall. And I am a great believer in paying it forward, and that's how in July of 2020, Talking with the Experts vodcast was born. It was my view that if I could help just one person, one business owner, diversify their business, then I could help the many. You might ask what a vodcast is. Well, a podcast is an audio discussion, I guess. So you can only hear it. You can't see it. And a vodcast is like a vlog or a video podcast, basically. So I do both. I have audio and video so that, people that don't necessarily want to listen to a podcast, can actually sit down and view me and my guests, discuss the topic that, that's related to whatever they're discussing. So research shows us that 30.3% of listening takes place on Apple Podcasts, and there's 26% happen on Spotify, and Google Podcasts, unfortunately, are only a distant 2% of listeners. So that's really not a great deal. So Apple Podcasts really are the way to go. And most podcasts are downloaded in the US and then the UK, and then Canada is a close third behind that. So that's just a few statistics that are boring, but just nevertheless important. And there are actually over 2 million podcasts in the world at the moment, and I'm ranking about 12,000th in the world out of 2 million. So I'm pretty happy with those statistics. So now I would like to share with you the 4 key reasons why a business owner must have a podcast. So podcasting overall has a healthy return on investment, or ROI. And something happens when you share the information with your audience. Trust forms. If you're giving away great information or entertainment to your listeners through this very intimate medium of podcasting, and your audience finds the information useful or interesting or worthwhile, then they will always come back. So by sharing good information, and you do it freely, and by doing so without beating the audience over the head with a hard sell every day, your message and your podcast will build trust that will pay dividends in the long run. And just keep in mind that your customers are always listening. So you may not know it, but your ideal customer could be amongst your listenership. So over a third of small to medium enterprise business owners are listening to podcasts, funnily enough. And nearly 2/3 of those people are listening to at least one podcast a week. This is a fantastic opportunity for anyone in business, and there's a real opportunity to leverage the kudos you get from hosting a successful podcast, and that can be extremely good for your business. It can also attract new clients or new prospects to your business. Having a podcast is an excellent platform to leverage those other forms of content, build on them, give them some new life, and introduce them to a whole new audience. And that way you might will pick up a new subscriber across all the various platforms where you have put your podcast. Now, this is an excellent way. I mean, I have, I don't know how many podcast channels my podcast actually goes to. I started off with 5, but they've ended up on ones that I didn't even sign up for. So I think what happens is they're in collaboration with the main players, and then they go out to the lesser known podcast channels. So I found myself on Deezer and Stitcher and some of those others that I'd never even applied for. So my audience is huge now. People think it's really, really expensive to start a podcast and you need like really good equipment. Well, that's not the case. I started off with just my laptop camera, my laptop microphone. Although the sound and the visuals weren't 100% crisp, I could still get away with that. And you need to remember that people will forgive you for bad visuals, but they will not give you any time for bad sound. You've got to have really good sound. So I invested in a Logitech 920, which is just a USB camera, and I also invested in a Rode Mini. Now, Rode Mini was my preferred choice, but there are Yeti Blues and all sorts of other USB type microphones that you can use. And if you want to go to a huge lot of expense, you can get one of those ones on a boom arm and get the little filter that goes on the front. But I don't worry about that because my sound is always really good and my visuals are always really crisp and clean. I do also have a ring light that I use at night times if my room is particularly dark, because it's very important that the lighting is always good behind you. And make sure that the light is facing you, of course, not behind you, because it causes shadows. A good background is important too. I prefer to use Zoom for my podcast, my visuals, because I can put a virtual background behind it. I don't tend to go like absolutely live in Facebook or Be Live TV because I can't use the background that I want. So. And you've noticed that a lot of podcasts can be very slick. The sound is just so good. And others have been, recorded on a smartphone. But no matter what you invest in to go into producing your podcast, you can always find a loyal audience if you're consistent. So it doesn't have to cost you, an arm and a leg to get started. Now, just a little bit about my podcast. Talking with the Experts was launched on the 13th of July in 2020. And as of the beginning of December, which was about 506 days, I've actually uploaded over 200 episodes. And the podcast has had over 17,000 plays in that time. So, as I said before, I'm ranking about 12,000th in the world out of over 2 million podcasts. So I'm pretty happy with those statistics, as I said. So according to, how I know there are over 2 million, if you go to Podcast Insights for 2021, they will tell you that there's over 2 million podcasts. Actually, I was on a podcast the other day, and they're much more precise with their stats, and it's like 2.2 million podcasts. So that's quite a few. So I guess if you've been asking yourself, where do I start? Why have a podcast if I'm not well known? And will it be profitable for my business? Well, I guess the first place to start is to speak with someone who knows what they're doing, gain some information from them. I'm sure there are other podcasters out there that, don't mind sharing how they got started and, little hints and tips along the way. But if you'd like to, to talk to somebody in particular, please feel free to contact me. I will leave a link to a Calendly booking that if you want to book a 15-minute chat with me to, get you on the right track, then please feel free to do that. So I guess basically if I can start a podcast that has grown, from over 200 interviews, I think it's like nearly 250 now, and over 17,000 downloads, and rank as high as I am at the moment in just over a year, I'm sure that you can, achieve those results as well, because it's not hard. You just need to be consistent. You need to have a good audience and put your podcast into the right niche. So mine is on business. I started out with SoundCloud. That is my main feed, and then I applied to iTunes, and I've applied to iHeartRadio. You can find me on Spotify. You can find me on Anchor. You can find me on Podbean. You can find me on, as I said, Deezer and Stitcher and Amazon. I'm on Amazon Podcasts as well, and that was a huge a feel-good moment when I was actually accepted onto Amazon, because some of these podcast channels you actually have to apply to, and they have to see that your podcast is worthwhile having on their channel. So yeah, I'm very grateful for being on those. So it hasn't taken as long as I thought to go through this. I love what I do. I love my podcast. I used to do 4 interviews a day, 5 days a week, sometimes 6, and I got burnt out. So you need to be careful about that podcast burnout, it's called, because you do get overwhelmed, especially if you're doing all the work behind the scenes yourself, such as the graphics and, finding the guests and making sure that they've given you all the information, their bio, their description, whatever. And then uploading it to the relevant channels. I actually only upload to 3 channels and to YouTube, and it seems to just filter its way down to all the other channels. So I don't quite know how that works, and one day I will find out, but I'm just happy that I'm found on, probably about 12 or 13 channels. I do have a private Facebook group where I will be teaching people how to start, grow and monetize a podcast. I will leave also a link in the description after the podcast that if you wish to join, then please click on the link, and I would love to see you in the group. And finally, I guess you just need to remember that don't wait for the opportunity. You need to create opportunities for yourself. And I did that by starting this podcast. It's something that I love doing. I thought that, the other things that I was doing previously, I, was aligned to, but this is just, I love it. I just love meeting all the new people. I've been able to foster friendships out of my podcast. And, some of the testimonials that I've received back are absolutely awesome. Telling me, how welcome I make them feel, how relaxed I make them feel. It makes me feel so good. I've got a YouTube website as well. It's called Talking with the Experts, and you can find most of the episodes on there. It's still a work in progress. I'm not really happy with it. I'm still trying to find a format that I like. I've seen a lot of other people's websites, and I really love them. But yeah, I think it's just finding the time to load up over 200 episodes. I think that's probably what's putting me off. Anyway, that is me for today. So again, if you'd like to book a chat with me, I'll leave the Calendly link in the chat. And also, if you want to join the private Facebook group on how to start, grow, and monetize your podcast, I will leave the link for that in there. I look forward to seeing you in there. I look forward to listening to your podcast. As I said, you can even start your podcast on your smartphone. It doesn't matter. You don't need fancy bells or whistles to start a podcast, and but you do need to use some paid applications. I use to transcribe my podcast. I use otter.ai. You can integrate that with Zoom so that I don't need to worry about show notes. It's a live transcription, so I just need to go to Otter to to find the relevant transcript and just download it and put it into the folder where the guest video is. And what's fine? Yes, I use a paid SoundCloud account as well, because with a paid account you could upload unlimited audio. With a free account, I think it's only 5 hours, and because I interview at the moment 6 people a week, I interview Wednesdays and Thursdays only now, and rather than the 5 days, because I have other things that I'm doing in my business. I think 6 is enough for me, and because it takes me about 2 hours to produce a podcast. So by the time that doesn't include the time that it takes to me to actually have a discussion with my guest. So it's 2 hours on top of that to upload the audio and the video to my channels, to YouTube, to Facebook, to Instagram, to TikTok. So I'm all over the place. You'll find me everywhere. And just remember, don't wait for the opportunity, create it. That's me today. My name's Rose-Davidson from Rose-Davidson.com and Talking with the Experts. Please have a lovely day and get in touch if you would like more information on how to start your own podcast. Bye.
Talking with the Experts.